So do you feel like we're behind in the speed world? Like, I know you changed a lot since that part, like, and then when you changed, did you realize like, dang, like we're very behind in the track speed or even the performance world as a whole?
Yes, I say that that Feed the Cats is revolutionary, but it should not be revolutionary. It just makes, I mean, anybody that I have an hour or two with, they start leaning in. They're like, wait, this stuff makes way too much sense. I mean, I can convert people. I'm a conversion guy. And
is that why we had TFC in the church?
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
It is kind of churchy. It is kind of because, and this is why it's churchy to me, is because like kids at the high school level get one opportunity to go through what they get to go through. And if you're creating a miserable experience for them, I just think it's wrong. You know, a positive experience, a joyful experience is just so right. And then when we convert coaches into the less is more, a more simple approach, a more joyful approach, they coach forever. Like I'm my 42nd year, and I swear to God, I'm not, this is not hyperbole. I feel like I'm 30 years old coaching. And I feel like I enjoy coaching more than I did back in my hard-boiled autocrat days of being a taskmaster and fighting my guys every single night, and then going home, and you have a hard time going home and being normal after doing that. So yeah, I think we're behind, and I think it goes right back to that thing about beliefs, that we are so, I say that tradition is a tribe. And being tribal is not a choice that you and I make. It is in our DNA. It is in our DNA to want to belong to a family. When somebody says, I'm a family man, I'm like, of course you are. It's in your DNA. If somebody says, hey, I'm a team guy, of course you are. It's because cavemen survived by being team guys. Here's a weird thing that a lot of people don't realize, is that the other thing that's in our DNA is status. We want to win. We want to be better than other people. We want our tribe to be better than other tribes. If you think about the best sports teams, they got them both going on. You know, they got the team thing going on, and then they want to beat other teams. And they even compete internally against each other. But if you have one going on without the other, you're a train wreck. So I really believe it's DNA, the same thing that causes us to be stubborn and latch on to beliefs, is tribal. And it's in our DNA. But as soon as we realize that we're tribal, you know, like idiots sometimes, then sometimes we can at least listen to other people and evolve.
How did you build that culture, Feed the Cats? And like, I mean, when I was at TFC, I was impressed, like not only just like the way that it was set up, but how many coaches were there and how many coaches have been doing it. I mean, some coaches 10 plus years. Like, how did you build that culture?
You know, I mean, looking back, it was kind of tribal, that when people come to a TFC, they feel like they're part of our group. And I think a lot of it has to do with the speakers we invite. Guys like you and Brian Kula and Dr. Ken Clark and Chris Korfist and Cal Dietz and Dan Fichter. All these guys are the most giving coaches I've ever seen. And none of them walk in like they are a rock star, even though some of them are. There are definitely rock stars in our group, but they don't carry themselves like that. They are men of the people and all that. So there is, people say that Feed the Cats is a cult. And I think it was Drew, our good friend Drew, who said that every business should have a cult-like following. A loyal following.
Drew said that? I like that.
Don't you like that? Drew said that. He said every business should have a cult-like following.
Smarter than he looks, huh?
Oh, he is. He is so much smart. Yes. I love Drew. So yeah, that cult-like following, I used to object to it, you know, when people downgrade us, but now it's like, oh, we are kind of a cult-like group. We really believe in some principles that are great for kids and great for coaches, and we're very performance-based. So that culture, I think, grew somewhat organically. It was somewhat tribal, but also the years that took off, the last 10 years, were the years where I could write something and not ask somebody else to publish it for me.
Oh, yeah.
It's a major change in the human existence. When a chemistry teacher, a nobody from Plainfield, Illinois, could write an article about football, even though he'd never been a head football coach ever in his life, and could literally start to change the football world. Or Twitter, once again, I started off on Twitter when I thought it was kind of dumb. It was like, okay, I'm going for dinner. It was kind of like, okay, this is what I'm doing right now. Like, you don't need to tell everybody what you're doing right now. But it's evolved into something where we share information, where we share ideas, we share studies and our writings and all that stuff. So in 10 years, as I said, nobody like me has grown to have 26,000 people read my stuff every day.
Oh.
And so those things allow us to grow. And then, of course, exactly 10 years ago, I meet Chris Corfist. And it was one of those things where I went to a presentation he did, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy is kind of like me. I'm like, there's somebody in the world that is kind of crazy and has crazy ideas like me. And so I started going to his basement and just sitting and watching him work and asking him questions once in a while. And here now we've become very good friends.
That's amazing. 10 years ago, Chris Corf's basement. If you guys only had a GoPro or camera or something, and I would love to see those conversations and like what came out of that.
Well, you know what's weird is that I would sit and watch quietly. If you ever see Chris work, he's kind of an introverted worker, and he'll do stuff. And I think I've been good for him because I will stop him and say, "Why'd you do that?" And if he doesn't give me a satisfactory answer, I follow up. I say, "I don't understand."
Bam.
So you're doing this to do what? And so he will answer my questions eventually perfectly. But you would have been surprised at how quiet we were back and forth.
Interesting.
For most of that time, it was just kind of like absorbing it. And then as we got to be closer friends, we started eating breakfast together once a month or so. And we would learn a lot from each other.
What's the biggest thing you learned from Chris?
Well, first of all, it's inspirational. I don't know when he sleeps. like literally, like I'll be all excited. I read some obscure book, and I got to tell Chris at breakfast. And so I told Chris, he goes, "Oh yeah, that was good." I'm like, "How do you read every book I've ever read? You've read every book I've ever read, and like 100 more, and you're working 8 hours a day as a school teacher, and you're training athletes 6 hours after that. How do you find time to do all these things?" So it's really inspirational. He never slows down. He always gives. He's always welcoming. Like when somebody goes to visit him, you just walk in through his garage. You open the door and try to avoid his 2 African Mastiffs that are both 180 pounds or something, and they have heads twice the size of a human.
Yeah.
And you try to not get eaten by the 2 dogs, and then you go down to his basement and you say, "Hey, what's up?" Not much. And he's working with a couple of guys from the Chicago Bears or whatever in his basement, and so yeah, it's he is one of the most bizarre and strange mad scientists I've ever known, and we learn things from, I think, weird, strange people. Like the middle of the road people are kind of bland.
Right.
They try to stay between the lines. Chris Corfus has never stayed between the lines ever. And, the whole RPR thing, heck, that happened about 10 years ago too.
Yeah.
Deactivated.
Yeah, I remember.
So all these different things like swerved into my lane about the same time.
Yeah. No, I love it.